Welcome to the Rock House Property Show, your #1 choice for tips, advice and practical know-how when looking to extend your home or develop property generally. Knowledge is power. And now, your host, Chartered Building Surveyor and the founder of Rock House, Andrew Sheely.
So good morning, good afternoon or good evening, depending when you listen to this. My name's Andrew Sheely, as previously introduced, and welcome to the Rock House Property Show. I have a real treat for you today. We have in-house with us George Humphries of B&G Lofts. If you're on YouTube, you're seeing it right here. We should remember there's a camera, and we've got George in today because he's going to be talking about a lot of questions to do with building work, perspectives of clients, how he sees building jobs, and really going to try and fill in the blanks for clients. So if someone listening to this podcast is about to do a project, then they're going to go, some of that content was amazing, because we're going to get a view behind the veil, you might say, about how builders see building work from your perspective, how builders see clients from your perspective. All very polite, although if you feel you have to swear, you can.
Try not to,
but you're going to do your best. I appreciate it's what it is. But in any event, we're going to really peel back the covers on that, and we're going to dive in and hopefully add some value for clients. So when they're listening, they can understand what a good builder sounds like, how they should be treated. And I think we're trying to give a lot of perspective so that a client or someone who's looking to do building work can say, you know what, if that's the standard, then I want to hit that standard with whoever they use, whether it's you or someone else. Or if you could put the cup down a little bit more quiet for me, that would be lovely. Come on, have you not done a podcast before? But in any event, the point is that hopefully the clients will pick up some key little nuggets of information that then they can go, that was really enlightening, and they can take that on to whoever they're talking to or whatever the project they're on. Even if they're in a project right now, then they can kind of apply these thoughts to that, and then hopefully for the better of all, we've all added some value.
Definitely, yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah, they get to learn my perspective on my building works as well, don't they? So,
good man.
Yeah.
Do you know what, I was worried that you might be a bit anxious about this, but I can tell you're a natural. And we haven't even given you a beer or anything. There's no alcohol on the show yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. And I don't think we've got any in the fridge. But in any event, I feel like this is going to go smooth. Okay, so George, tell us about who you are. What's your story in terms of construction, of course? Don't need to know when you were born. Don't need to know where you live. And we're not doing any specifics, just to be very clear, by the way. So no addresses of jobs you've worked on or specific, you know what I mean, data protection,
Yeah, of course, yeah, I understand.
But tell us, how you got into the construction game and what your business is now.
Right, I left school. I went to college. I went to Harlow College and learnt the carpentry side of things. Got all my courses under my belt, which was good. And then I went on to building lofts. So ever since then, I've been building lofts, first and second fix carpentry, really. But lofts is my speciality. So, it's ever since.
Is it true that you never forget your first loft?
That's true. Yeah, I don't think you ever forget your very first job you ever do. Yeah, especially if it's your speciality anyway. So
good man. And so you've been doing lofts all your lofts. You like lofts in and out, every aspect.
Yeah, pretty much. We dabble in hand cut roofs. We do a bit of hand cut roofs. So if anyone's rotten timbers, the rafters are rotten, they want a new roof, new builds, anything like that, truss roofs, anything hand cut roofs, first fix structural stuff. That's our thing.
That's your thing. Mm-hmm. And B&G Lofts is obviously a new enterprise. Well, it's not new, but it's now branded.
That's right.
And you're pushing it on. So you've gone from, look, we're well known in the industry for doing the first and second fix carpentry, which is laying the roof timbers on the roof or on the steelwork, so you actually see the profile and the structural shape of the roof, and obviously doing the second fix carpentry, which is then stud walls, battening and other bits and pieces that aren't full-on structural timber work.
Correct, yeah. So we get involved in, we can either give you a framing price. Sometimes normally people just want a framing price. They want to do the internals themselves, or from start to finish. So
and start to finish means, just to be clear, because you've said we do structural works and carpentry-wise, but you actually mean, I'd like a loft conversion, please. B&G Lofts are the company.
That's
and
right.
You can rock up and do everything from building it out to putting the last bit of paint around the skirting board.
That's exactly that.
With you and your team.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So now we know who you are and what your story regards the company. How long's the company been around for?
Me and Ben have been running together for the last 3 years. we do a lot of framing work for builders and property developers, and we thought, you know what, we should do it ourselves because we've got a hell of a lot of knowledge. We've got 40 years of experience between us. So
been there and seen the worst of it.
Yeah, and listen, we know exactly what we're doing, you know, and between us, we can get over anything. So,
my man.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. So we're going to dive in. We've listed out some questions here for everyone on the old screen, and the reason is we want to make sure that we claw out the best content we possibly can for the benefit of everyone watching or listening. So in terms of this, we try to streamline some of these questions to make sure we get the most important ones out. This may end up being a 2-part series, depending on how well you and I get on.
Cool,
You'll know it's going really badly if it ends very quickly.
Don't terminate it just yet.
No. So, but listen, anyway, that's fine. So the biggest thing on everyone's brain, question number 1.
Yep.
Price of
Materials. Yeah.
Let's talk about what happened or what's happening in the market from your perspective. You know, obviously, just to set the scene before you crack on, building work cost whatever, it was expensive. We've gone into COVID, we've had Brexit, all stacked one on top of the other.
A lot of rises.
I've heard stories of shipping containers being on the ocean, the Atlantic, between point A and point B, getting a phone call from someone in America or the port they're about to land in to the boat. Hi there, yeah. So I know you've bought a load of timber work for UK.
We want it back.
We want it back, or America's actually given us double the price.
Right.
So unless you pay the price, the boat's going to not come to you. We're going off there to get a better price.
That's what I've heard as well. But whether or not it's true or not,
we're obviously all moving in the same circles, but it was quite a sensational story to think that something like that was occurring.
It's money talk sometimes. You know, if they're going to pay up a bit more money for it, then it's going to go somewhere else sometimes. It's the way it is.
So that was what was occurring on the coast. And obviously from the actual building trade, prices then gone through the roof. Because there's a limited stock, prices have gone up anyway, and Brexit and all the delivery drivers couldn't get stock to site and all the stuff that was stacking up. So the number one topic on people's lips are building prices are astronomical. Yeah. How can you give us some knowledge on that from your perspective?
It's rising and it's continued to rise. It's a few reasons, but hopefully it'll come back down. But they said that last time, it's gone up, so we'll see. It's just going to be a knock-on effect for everyone. If the prices continue to go up, then people are not going to have loft conversions, and they're going to end up moving because it's cheaper.
Yeah,
do you know?
Isn't that the case though?
I think so.
A lot of people moved and they were, they weren't moving. They would say, well, to move, I've got to pay stamp duty. Do you know what? Never thought of that. Got to pay stamp duty, 2%, 7%, whatever the thing is. The cost you've got to pay far outweighs the amount it costs to do a building job. So let's stay where we are.
Exactly. But now
it
could be
that gap's starting to thin out, isn't it?
Exactly that. Yeah. It's not good for us, obviously, because we want to extend up, and that's our jobs, you know.
Your bread and butter.
It is, yeah. So,
but that's why you've been pushing the company branding and more. Why we're here today.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because the more you get out there,
the labour's stayed the same, but the price of the materials have gone up.
Really? Could you put like a percentage on it, or could you say it's been double? If something was £1, has it gone up to £1.50 or £2?
I would say it's gone up 30% at least.
Really?
At least,
and it's still going?
Yeah, and it's still going. I'm waiting for it to come down, but like I say, I don't know what the future, so we'll have to just play it by ear at the minute.
And the challenges for people is that they still have needs to extend, they still have needs to develop, because a lot of it's driven by improving the quality of life.
Of course.
So essentially, people still need to dive into that. It's just costing them a lot more money. I mean, I don't know, gone are the days, or put it this way, from my perspective, we're doing building work, architectural work and surveying work for a long time. So we always get into a conversation with clients about how much things cost ahead of time. And I'll say, right, well, back in the day, I used to say, if you've got a terrace house, then you could be looking at a loft conversion anywhere between 30 and 40 grand, depending on the builder, because some people charge more, some people charge less, depending.
Ballpark figure, though.
Ballpark, give you a range. You haven't got to do a hip to gable extension or anything that's more than just putting the box in the back, finishing off 30 to 40 grand, plus VAT, of course. These days, and for a hip to gable, semi-detached or detached house, you might say typically 40 to 50, 55k. I would have said another 10 grand on, give or take, to allow for the additional work to bring the roof out to make the gable
end. That's right.
Whereas now I'm saying to clients, terrace house, 50 grand. I'd
Well,
say. I'm saying,
yeah.
and I'm saying to them, I don't really know exactly, because I would have always said this. But if I had to put money aside for a loft conversion these days, I'd be saying
I'd say 40 to 50. That's what you're
40
looking
or
at.
50.
Yeah.
So it's
And
up
that's
10 grand at
that's
least.
that's a terrace house as well. So semi-detached, you're looking at a price one recently, and that was coming in at 47 grand plus VAT.
Which is quite reasonable, I
It
feel,
is reasonable,
anyway,
I
if
think.
I'm honest with
Yeah,
you.
our rates are pretty good. So
Okay, but the open market, I mean, I've spoken to some other builders and for similar houses, and I appreciate, listen, I know you've said a price today, but that's just a the property that it was. All properties can be different. Semi-detached property, hip to gable extension. A hip to gable means taking the side pitch where it's at a slope,
like
raising it
hip
up vertically so it's in
Gable
line
and
with the
build up.
flank wall.
That's right.
And then you put the dormer across the back for everyone who's just listened to this and not seeing the hand movements I'm doing to demonstrate pictures of
Exactly,
rooms. But the point is, I spoke to a builder the other day and he was definitely in the mid-50s to 60s.
Yeah, listen, we're
Easy.
reasonable with
Plus
our money.
VAT.
I can imagine that with other companies. Yeah, definitely can be up there with the big money, you know. So, but trying to keep it reasonable.
Okay, fair play. So, I mean, I see prices as well, and I'd like to get your perspective on this. So the open market generally is going to, how can I put this? Not all builders are as upright as you. Any builders listen to this, I'm not disrespecting builders. I'm sure there are people in any industry where they're not all shiny and wonderful.
Thank you. I'll take it as a compliment.
Well, you're here because I wouldn't bring a builder on or a loft conversion company like yourself if I didn't fully back you and have seen your work and know you're a professional in terms of your personality and or how you conduct yourself on site, right? So let's just cover that. In any event, I'm not getting paid to say that to him either. It's just honest
Thank
opinion.
you. I appreciate the compliment.
So in any event, if we took the whole market as an average personality, I think the price has gone up, and rather than going up and then coming down, I think there's actually going to be a bit of a bell shape on a graph. If you can imagine, vertically on the axis is going to be the price going up and down, and then horizontally is the time. Rather than going up, peaking at the top like a Everest, like a mountain, and then peaking back down straight away as soon as the price drops, there's going to be builders out there, contractors, who are going to say, well, the prices have come down a bit, but I can still charge a bit more while the overall market is expecting the price to be the level it's at. And so, as I say, the only reason why prices are going to start dropping, like the bell, the curve at the top, is because certain builders are going to start losing jobs because they're too expensive. Exactly. They know that they're overpricing it because material prices are dropping, and thus their prices will drop
down a little bit.
And then that's going to be across the whole market, of course.
I think you're going to find that, I think as material prices go up, people are going to basically flick a coin whether they're going to have the loft conversion or not. And it's to go on price. It's always on price. So if you can be a bit flexible on the labour to allow for the materials, then great. But normally speaking, it's a lot of builders have been putting their price up with the materials. Yeah,
of course. Well, you have to. It's just whether those prices come down.
But the labour cost as well has crept up as well. Is that
because of the Brexit and the shortage?
I think so. Where we've been pretty stable. I think a lot of the builders have been pushing their rates up. That's
very hard as well, because certain buildings in certain postcodes will charge more or less depending on the geographical wealth of the area, of course. It shouldn't be like that, but it is the market.
It is, I'm afraid to say.
It is what it is. Yeah. Okay. I suppose, interestingly, that brings me on to my next question, please. In terms of how you're protecting clients and or protecting yourself from prices that are actively moving. So typically old school jobs, you would just price the job. That would be your price for materials because everything's stable.
That's right. Yeah.
And you do the job. And if the job cost took 6 months, then you'd be like, right, well, the price I'm good for. Whereas now prices at £1, and in a month's time they're at £2, and in 3 months at 2.5, and then back down to 2. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, how are you managing that process during a build where the price of certain, and let's use timber because you're
timber guy.
So let's pretend that's the only material that this relates to.
Or even stills. We use the stills, and they've gone up.
Of course. You know? But how are you playing it then, where prices go up during the middle of a job? So the job you priced, to get my words out, isn't the same job you're now paying for.
That's right. Yeah.
Now you're on site 2 months later.
Well, normally in my T's and G's, it's got everything.
T's and G's, I like that.
T's and C's.
Yes. Now I know
tongue and groove floorboards.
Tongue and groove contract. Yeah. But belts and braces. No, tongue and groove.
T's and C's, basically. It's all in our contract. So
Okay.
if it goes up, then we'll have to go back to the timber yard with our new, they'll send through a quote for us, and we'll just, whatever the difference is, they'll have to make up.
Okay.
And that's all in the T's and C's.
Okay. So talking from a client's perspective, because they're thinking a couple of questions I can imagine at this point. They're saying, well, how do I know the price that the material cost was when you gave me the quote, one, so that two, when the price goes up or down and you give me the price change, I can compare it in an open book kind of way to what it is now, so that I know, client hat, that I'm not getting ripped off. Talking plainly to you,
I get you.
I'm not saying you rip anyone off, I'm just talking to the point.
It's difficult because you don't necessarily give them over the timber list of everything that was coming in at the start.
Because it's too much
so
information.
It's a bit, yeah, because they don't need to know. Obviously, we put it in black and white on the quote, what is coming in, we break it down.
And to be clear, I've never seen a builder ever send over a materials list with a full breakdown of costs.
That's right.
Never,
Exactly.
ever.
My quotes are pretty detailed. So you get the length of that timber, that's how much you're going to be paying for it. So it specs it pretty much on my quote. So if you used to go back 3 months later and go, well, that 8x2 was £8, is now £10.
Yeah.
They will know that on the quote.
So do you think it might, and forgive me, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus at all, catch you out, but it might be a good idea, for instance, on your quotes to break out your profit away from the actual costs of the job, maybe.
That's what we do.
So, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
do
even know that.
Yeah, we do that, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because then, essentially, it's the material cost,
That's right.
the labour cost, and then the profit at the end.
It's quite detailed, our quote.
That's
So
perfect.
so everything on there, even the length of the timber, you got the costing on it for that. So it's pretty black and white. So if it's gone up from £8 to £10,
there.
there's no arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Because I know, put it this way, I know a lot of builders, and it's perfectly standard practice, of course, they will spread their profit across the whole job equally. So every length of timber that costs £1, they'll say, well, that's £1.10 or £1.15,
Yeah,
and so on and so on.
separate at the end.
So you can see.
Everything's broken down properly, yeah. It's
Love
quite
that.
an structured quote, you know.
I love the transparency.
Yeah.
I bet clients like that as well,
They do,
right?
definitely. You win work off it.
Yeah, because I've not seen that very
show
often.
you.
I'd love to
Yeah,
see that.
definitely. I'll look for it.
I'll show you. Thank you. No, brilliant. Well, that's great. That's refreshing to hear you do that, and good for you as well, because I know a lot of people, and that's why.
There's no confusion then.
Yeah,
You know?
and it shows
black and white.
It shows a real sense of honesty to the client as well.
Definitely.
And so I guess you're going to say yes to this, but of course I've heard you do it anyway, because I spoke to a client, which is how we kind of met and whatever, that you actually then like actively pass the saving on to the client. So if he does go down again, which is the point.
I'll tell the client. And they've
it
got a
swings and
saving.
roundabouts.
Of course, if it goes up, then they've got to pay it a little bit more, but if it goes down, they're going to save a little bit.
And I think
It goes both ways.
And I think what's important in that is because, how can I word this? It swings and roundabouts.
Definitely.
I know on every single job a contractor would always want to do, or always does, some work for free, inevitably, because things come up and the contractor's already got the guy doing something else while he's there, will just do that too.
That's right. If it's a small job, you throw it in.
You absorb it.
Yeah. You send an email, just say, listen, we're going to throw this in for free. But normally speaking, any extra works that's a considerable amount of money, I normally get sent in an email.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not...
Don't worry about me. No, you stay
Make
where you
sure
are.
it's not verbally.
Yeah.
Make sure it's written down black and white on an email.
Okay.
Because there's a bit confusion there otherwise.
Okay. Which comes to a point we're going to cover later about communication, but that's great to know. That's great to know. Okay. So next question down the list we go to, the tender process. Dum, 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 dum. So in my experience in the last year, I've found, and I've spoken to a few clients and even someone on this podcast who said that they've had builders around to site to price a job and they literally just like couldn't be bothered to be there. I'm not saying you, by the way, I'm just saying some builders, they're like turned up, oh, it's a bit late, oh, it's an effort for me to be here. And what it tells me is there's a lot of building work going on. I know there is, because we're busy and the market's very busy. So a lot of building work, good builders are getting pulled to do a lot of quoting.
That's right.
Just framing this for you. Yeah. So when you've got 10 quotes coming in across a month to do, okay, from a builder's perspective, you're getting all tender packs from different architects or clients or whoever.
Yep.
What to you creates an attractive tender pack so that you will, if I literally made this super simple black and white, you opened up your desk, you had all 10 quotes laid out so you could see the quality of every package. What's the thing that you go, I'm going to price that one and I want that job because actually that's going to be easier for me and da-da-da-da-da?
It massively depends on the structural drawings and the architectural drawings, definitely 100%, because if they're not very clear, then obviously that get put to the side. I do some where they've got very clear drawings, and it always helps. Like with yourself, with your drawings, I know they're very clear, so there's never any issues, which is brilliant. So I'll always advise my clients to go your way, but normally sometimes they've got their own drawings in place, you know. So,
but I know the standard we work to, so that's just what is what it is. So I don't know, without really labouring it, what's the difference between a good set drawings and a bad set drawings? Like hand-drawn drawings, good, bad?
That doesn't really matter so much.
Okay.
It doesn't matter at all, the hand drawing. It's just how clear it is, because sometimes if your hand drawing is not that bad, hand drawing is not that great. But normally speaking,
there are people out there
it's
still
not an
doing
issue.
it like that.
Yeah, that's right. It's people do their things different ways, but it's not necessarily that. It's just do your homework on the structural engineer and the architect, definitely, because we've arose complications lately of a loft we come to, and they didn't bridge no window or anything when there's still right over it. So we've had to kind of go back to a structural guy, but who'd retired, so I couldn't get
good
in
hold
contact.
of him.
Yeah. So we kind of had to do our own kind of structural details. So we had building control over. We know what we're doing with regards to what thicknesses of steels we can bridge across windows and things like that. But we've got building control and it all passed fine. But yeah, definitely for me, structural calculation. You've got to have the right company.
The right drawings showing clearly.
Right.
And do you know what I find sometimes, and I have to get a structural engineer on the podcast too, is connection details on the drawings.
Yeah,
so as
in
where,
connections like you've got crank steel or something like that.
Yeah,
is that what
you're
you're thinking?
Well, so for everyone listening, so a crank steel is where you have an angled steel, so a steel that's going up at 45-degree angle, connects to the horizontal steel, then running over the top of the roof.
You've got a detail in that way they bolt together and things like that.
The way they bolt, yes. The way that the thing comes across onto the lintel, how the timber work goes into it on joist hangers, that's essential. Some structural drawings don't do that. I've seen those drawings where they're just a dash line. It says the size of the beam.
And it's a lot of phone calls when you should just have it black and white in front of you. You don't need to hear from me. I'll get the job done and it's finished, you know.
So the quality of the drawings is number one.
Definitely. From start, you've got to have good structural calculations and good architectural drawings. And you've got
all the dimensions are on there.
That's right.
The
More
sizes
information,
of
the
rooms.
better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more information, the better.
Yeah.
Is there a point of overkill, ever?
No, not really. Not really. More information, the better. As long as I stick to them drawings.
Because you know what you're looking at for.
Of course.
You're looking at a drawing, you look at them all the time, so you know exactly within the maze of all the annotations that say, you know...
all the Newton weights and bits like that.
And the extract events need to be weatherproofed and all these little bits that are standard, you're just going straight to the thing you know you need.
That's right,
so you can go, but then you can pad out your knowledge and what you need to know because of other bits. So
that's right.
Just good detail on the drawings.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's interesting. It's hard, isn't it? Because we can't talk about too much what makes a detailed drawing because you'd be here all day.
That's right. There's a list of things, but it's definitely key is anyone looking to do a loft conversion. Strong architect, strong engineer, yeah.
Okay, so good detail. So the advice to a client would be, and I
do
think
your homework.
Do you know what I think? No one ever asked me doing architectural drawings. To be clear, by the way, everyone, I'm a chartered building surveyor. Don't ever call myself an architect. I'm only saying that because George is sitting next to me, generally using the term architects, and we're in a conversation. I wouldn't want to offend any architect listening or anyone who knows that an architect is a legally protected title, essentially, but the common layperson and or builders, whatever, they're not going to start defining in conversations.
Exactly.
He's an architectural designer or whatever. Architectural works can be done by building surveyors, draftsmen, architectural technicians, as well as architects. And we may do another podcast to define the difference between all of those things. But suffice to say, as a practice at Rock House, I've got to remember we're on the camera as well. We have chartered building surveyors in-house. We have an architect in-house qualified. We've got a Part 2 architect as well. So when we talk about architects, although I'm not an architect, we have architects in-house. Just to not get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. No. So I'd say then mentally that the number one thing that people don't ever ask to see when they're talking to me about a new commission, because maybe I already automatically show them that when we're going through the quoting process. But in any event, can I please see an example of your drawings?
Yeah. Do you never get that?
Never. But I show my drawings as we're going through the quoting process, because I kind of feel it's good to show people what the drawings look like. But no client ever says, can I actually get a copy of those PDFs sent to me, even if they're watermarked and copyrighted, so they can't just lift the information humbly, to see then that these drawings look to a quality level as opposed to a very basic level. That's a massive tip for our listeners.
Because you can get different levels of architects, you know.
Even architects are sometimes not as good as other architects.
That's right. Even a builder can be better than that architect sometimes.
Well,
you know,
I've seen that as well. So, I mean, that's going to be in any professional industry, in anything. There's always going to be the better and the worst of it.
That's right.
That's a great tip. So ask to see a set of the drawings prior to making an instruction on an engineer. I think
so, and just do your homework on the company as well. Make sure you've got good reviews. Bit
of references. Ask to speak to the reference.
That's right.
See what.
Definitely.
Ask to speak to the builder. This is another thing no one ever does.
I'll speak to the builder.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Imagine this conversation. Hi there. Yeah. Can I have a reference for your job, please? No problem. You ring up. So I'm the client now. I'm ringing up the client who the architects worked for before, who's obviously going to go, they were amazing. Yeah. Thank you for that. Can I please speak to the builder who built your job from that architect's drawings? I mean, listen, you'd have to dive. You're diving deep now, right? But just imagine,
go with it.
But imagine you do that, and then they write to the builder, and the builder goes, "All right, mate." Sorry.
Do I sound like that?
Don't laugh deep into the mic, because the volume's going to go through the roof. If you laugh, come back away from the mic. But imagine speaking to the builder after the client said, "Yeah, they were amazing," and then the builder went, "Oh my God, their drawings were terrible." Because that's the big thing, isn't it? What do you mean they were terrible? Oh, well, I couldn't use them. We ended up just binning them, and we know what we're doing anyway.
It does happen with us, you know, especially if you can't talk to a structural guy that's retired. That's really difficult as well. It's made problems for us. But listen, we got over the issues, and it delayed the project by about a day, which it should have been about a week. But
golden nuggets, golden nuggets. Wonderful.
Customers happy anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to answer the question of how can a client be more attracted to you to ensure the price actually comes through, and that you don't get it and go, oh, well, I've done, you know, not you, but a builder would go, oh, well, sorry, I haven't got around to pricing that within 8 weeks, so I guess I'm not on the list anymore, because he just can't be bothered. Even though they turned up to site and did the whole meeting, it's having a good detailed drawing pack that's easy to price.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. It makes my life a lot easier.
Thank you. Thank you. So next on the list we have, what are your top tips for clients to consider when doing a construction project? So that's so broad.
Yeah.
So let me define it a bit better, right?
Okay.
Thank you. I can see you're eager to answer. You're like, oh my God.
I know this one.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you never thought you passed so many questions since going to school. Anyway, this is the point, because it's all about perspective. And as a builder, your perspective, you see things on site from your own perspective. So the question is, where do you regularly see potential issues arising from the builder's perspective in terms of giving advice to a client? So let's change the context of this question slightly. I'm a client, I'm your best friend, and I'm about to do building work with another builder because I wouldn't want to use you in case something went wrong, whatever. But we're talking, and I say to you, George, hello, Andrew.
How you doing, Andrew?
So you go, look, George, where's there going to be issues that I need to be heads up about, that I'm not going to get from the architect, that no one else is going to tell me, but the builder always kind of sees and knows, because it happens regularly, but it's just one of those things that the builder's got used to, like going, all right, it's the same thing again. That matters. What is it?
Normally subcontractors, if they can't get there on a day, there's an issue for me, because it's a knock-on effect then.
So
for my project.
You mean a subcontractor, i.e. someone the client's engaging directly outside the contract? Or
it could be one of my guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if people get ill, but like recently we've had people having cases of COVID. Of course. It happens, right? Yeah. So it's just a case of trying to manage that the best you can. So
clients can't manage that though. With respect to you,
that's right.
And we'll get onto your challenges later.
Okay,
it's a great point. Yeah. But from the customer's perspective, I'm sure it's the same, because when they've got subcontractors, i.e., there's certain things in a building job a client can do themselves. They can get their own windows. They can have their own flooring contractor, their own decorator. I don't know how many other things they might do, but let's just go with windows, for instance.
Okay, yeah, it does come a problem sometimes if they've got someone booked in and they don't turn up. There's an issue with our project moving on. So it'd be a case of maybe sending an email and just saying, could we get these window companies sorted out ASAP, because it's going to please,
very politely.
guys. yeah, obviously. Just don't want to affect the project at all, really. You just want it to run really smoothly. So,
well, to summarise, the longer you're on a job for, the less money you guys make.
That's right. And
the quicker you can finish a job, the more profit you make.
That's right.
Because you're not paying for being active on a site.
Exactly.
So,
and also, I've got other work booked in, so I don't want to delay other projects.
Yeah.
So it's a knock-on effect kind of thing.
So padding that answer out a little bit, and using Windows as a great example, because I know that's a classic.
That's a good example. Yeah.
It's about knowing the lead-in time for the
right.
project, for the product that you're looking to bring to site. Talking to the builder about, and add more onto this after, by the way. Talking to the builder about what that product is, at what point during the project does it have to be on site, because you won't know. Let's say the lead-in time for the Windows is 4 weeks. You might not know, well, give or take, you can't give it the exact week the Windows need to be there until you're a little bit closer to that point in the project.
We know roughly what days going to
be. Dormers are a unique scenario where you kind of know you can get in and out in a month or something like that, whatever. Bigger projects, though, applying that mindset to larger things as well. Obviously, you know, if you're doing a big job where the windows aren't needed for 2.5 months at least, because you're building a massive 2-story extension, the point is regularly talking to the builder about, here's the things I'm going to be bringing to site.
Yep.
And every week, do you need it yet? When do you need it?
That's right.
Because it needs 6 weeks to come. 6 weeks to come. And at some point, the builder's going to go, their ears are going to flap open like they've not been listening the rest of the time. But when it's relevant, it's relevant.
Of course it is.
And the builder's going, oh, you just mentioned that. It's a good point. Yeah, we're going to need the windows in 6 weeks. So could you order them this week? And then they'll be there.
That's
Click.
Right.
Because it's the big problem is when the client supply item doesn't arrive, and you're on site going, well, we can't plaster, we can't finish up, we can't board, because water's going to get in.
It's a big delay, yeah. And also, you want to get weather tight as well. If you're talking about windows being delayed, it's talking about that we will board them up, but it's not ideal.
No, of course not.
Do you know?
And is there anything else that's a major? I mean, Windows is one of those things which is bold and obvious, but is there any other little bit that clients usually get their own, I'm getting my own person to do it, and then it causes a problem? Kitchens
don't really affect me so much, unless, like I say, unless they're having a kitchen in the loft.
Yeah.
But it's not really, it's not really, those kitchens don't really affect us.
It's moving all around.
Following me.
Left, right, look at you. If you're not on, if you're not listening to this watching this on the video, George keeps moving left and right in his chair.
I'm finding it comfortable.
I'm just pitching the mic to face his mouth as he's talking, and then he moves the other way, and then turn the mic back.
I'm just keeping Andrew busy, you know.
It's like crystal maze at my desk. It's like, am I going to get a crystal at the end of this? George, please. I can't reach. My arms are too short. But stop moving. Sorry, we digress. So kitchens, and let's just say every supply item that the client might bring to site.
That's right. Anyone that they decided they want to bring, and they might have a plumber that they wanted to bring into the project, and then we've got a liaise. It's normally me. It's better for us to get our own people in place, because we can structure it in a way that we get them. We know that they're reliable guys. Yeah. I don't know what the client's going to bring. Yeah. You know. So
do you know? And I'd like to. I'm going to ask this question to you again, just to expose if there's anything else. One of the big things I always say to clients is, if you bring if you bring your own supply items to site, then you're liable with that supplier if that item goes wrong. And there's always a little pickle of a situation that can happen. I'm going to use a front door as an example here. So they've had their own front door company in. The front door's being supplied to site, and then the builder's installed it. The door starts jamming. The builder says, not you, generic, completely unique, general situation. The builder might say, well, my installation was perfect, and I'll show you what I've done. The door company says the door was perfect, and now you're in rock and a hard place as a client. I'm not saying this happens every time, by the way, because sometimes the installer of the door was just not very good. Done. I'm not saying it's you. We've all heard the stories. Okay. But the point is this. As a client, you don't want to be in between the rock and the hard place. You want to be able to go to one source and say, the door's jamming, sort it, please. And then the builder supplied it, the builder's done it. Now, it's not every single time, but I suppose what I'd recommend, get door company, if they're going to supply it, to fit it. If you're going to get a window company in, get them to fit it. If you're going to get a carpet company in, get them to fit it as well.
Because they can guarantee it then, can't they? Yeah. A lot of the time, if someone else is fit, they're not going to guarantee it.
Bit of a sniff there on the call. So sorry. It's better than me blowing my nose on the mic, I tell you. And another thing, which is a big no-no, in my humble opinion, is electrics. Because I've found that clients will sometimes source and get their own light switches from wherever they get them from, China, Brazil, I couldn't care less really, whatever country these people, and I'm not saying they're going to be bad, but this is the point. When the builder or the electrician that's employed by the builder doesn't supply the light fittings, even if the electrician actually gets them from wherever you want to get them from, but does it through his business, he might put a bit of profit on them. Maybe he will.
Maybe.
The point is this, and you'll know that what I'm going to say, I'm sure. When the light bulbs go, or the dimmer switch is buzzing, or whatever, if you've bought your own electrical points and you've then had the electrician install them, the electrician will charge you to come back and
charge per point.
Yeah, or charge to come back and mess around with it. If he supplied the elements and installed the elements, that's on him. And he'll come back for...
Of course he will, for free.
For free.
Of course.
Big deal.
Yeah,
Big deal. Same with a boiler.
Sometimes you think you're saving money,
things.
go and get these, getting the materials from other places, a little bit cheaper. But in the end
it's a false economy.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think the important point would be is to help clients understand you can get what you want, but when you've discovered what you want, go and give it to the builder, let him see it, and if he says you've found a terrible, terrible product here on Instagram somewhere, like while you're lying in bed or something, but let me show you where I can get as close to that as possible, or the electrician will go out and source something similar, then at least you're getting what you want, but it's managed in this way where you're not going to pay for issues later.
Exactly that. You know, you just want one guy to do the whole job, start to finish. His products as well, because then it's on him.
I do get it with clients.
I get when they want to save, but in the long run they don't.
But they can. You just open them up for issues.
That's
so
right. Just tell them the information that they need to know. If it's not, the product's not as good, you let them know.
Yeah. And that's important, right? Because if the builder doesn't say, "Oh, the product's not very good," then it could all be a dog's dinner later, and it's too late, and then you're dealing with all the issues later.
That's
so,
right.
you know, the builder's there to support you, and if you're using the right builder, they'll be more than happy to talk to you along the way.
Definitely, 100%. If you've got the right builder, he's going to explain to you in a lot of depth what's the best thing and educate you in the best ways.
Yeah, okay.
That is the end of part one of our interview with Mr. George Humphries of B&G Lofts and General Building Contractors. Please hang around for part two for more massive added value and golden nuggets, tips and tricks about how contractors think during a building project. We look forward to seeing you at part two, where we will dive deeper down the rabbit hole. Speak soon.